I'm going to pass on now to Judy Gorton, because Judy is going to introduce our visitor from Europe, Pia Hultgren. Judy.
Thank you, Carol. Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Pia Hultgren has had an interest in the weather since her early childhood years, where she spent much of her time growing up in the forest, climbing mountains and sailing on the sea in her hometown in Sweden. Her love of sailing and skiing has continued throughout her life, and Pia sailed across the Atlantic several times, and in 2015 to 2016, she and her husband, Eric, embarked on a 10-month journey in their 56-foot sailboat across the Atlantic with a final destination of Brisbane. Her love of maths and physics has led her to her profession as a meteorologist and a career in television broadcasting the latest weather news. Prior to that, she was working as a meteorologist with the armed forces. Pia joined Zonta in 2001 and is currently the president of the Zonta Club of Lidingo. Is that how you pronounce it, Pia?
Yes, about so. Lidingo.
In the Area 2 in District 21, which I visited during my time on the international board. Watching what we have been doing with Zonta Says Now in District 23 has inspired Pia to get involved, and she is keen to explore ways that she can integrate climate action into Zonta's goals and advocacy work and incorporate them into the work that's happening in her own club. So a very warm welcome to you, Pia. I'm sure it's a lot colder here and a lot colder there in Switzerland than in Western Australia, where it's about 39 degrees. But a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Judy. And thank you, Helen, for a super speech. Climate change and health is one of my favorite part of this subject. I might also try to share my screen. So let's see where I have. Yeah. Well. I think it's working now. Okay. Yeah, that was a good long presentation. So I don't need to speak so much about. Judy said almost everything, and Helen spoke also about this, that climate change is certainly a question about women, that women suffer more, but also that women can do more. We have a natural way of thinking in sustainability and thinking wider and longer, and we are a very important part of this. And also, I believe, I heard a speech some weeks ago that it's so much also about communication. Very much of the research in climate change is in English. The majority of articles, scientific articles, are written in English, but the people around the world speak so much more languages, and I think that also can be applied to that we women have to speak more about this climate change. Also, women have to understand. That's my take on this, of my speech. We have to understand, and we have to speak about it clearly and in a right way. So this is my background. In Sweden, a lot of sailing and nature and animals, dogs, and we also live with this news all the time about climate change, very close by in the Arctic. I live quite close to the Arctic, and that's one part of the Earth that we clearly can see is climate change. And also outside here in the Alps, on the higher levels, the climate change is so obvious. Even in Sweden, we had wildfires. Summer of 2018, I think, was a big, I don't know exactly the word, but game changer for Swedish average people, when we also in very close to the Arctic saw these wildfires. Also Siberia and Greenland have experienced the wildfires. So we had a lot that summer. We had a lot of tropical nights and several months of very severe droughts. I go through my slides because it's very much about the same that Helen spoke about, but I just want to give you a little insight in who I am and about the work we try to do and start and build up in Sweden. And I'm so thrilled to be able to cooperate to you and to the Zontans around the world. Well, I do a lot of, I've been into the research in Sweden about climate change. I've been working for the military, and nowadays I work a lot for the media, and I'm speaking a lot about climate change for people, try to get people to understand. And for me, it's natural that we have a climate change, but still there are people that doesn't really agree. It's also important to know when we speak about 1.5 and 2 degrees that we know we speak globally. And in our part of the world, we already have had 1.5 degree heating of our part of the world. So it's affecting the world quite differently, this heating. As you can see here, this is how lately the Earth has been heated quite differently. There are spots even that are slightly colder that we still dig into and try to find what's going on there. For example, in the middle of the Atlantic, when it's getting colder. So for our part of the world, we can see effects both of droughts, as I showed you before, but also floodings. So we have different times of the years, we have the different problems. Also, we see that the Arctic sea ice is melting. We can clearly see that from satellite images. And here is the normal line, the red extension of the Arctic ice, and summer or September 2019, that's when the ice is lowest. It was like the white part of it. So it's really decreasing, and of course also in the Antarctic the ice is increasing. So what's the thing about this? I mean, I try sometimes to be philosophic, and because here in the very northern part of the world, we are used to darkness and cold climate, and that's the normal for us. And very often people long for the lighter part of the year and warmer. We love when spring comes, and people ask when will it be warmer, and when will spring arrives, and when will we get the summer. So what's the problem? If the Earth is getting warmer, we will get warmer, at least, not lighter, but warmer. But the problem is that we are going away from what's the normal, what's the I don't know exactly the word, but what we are used to, what is good for the Earth. So here's just in the middle of my speech, I but on some things that what I believe we can do. And as I understand, some of your clubs in Australia do a lot with educating and having contact with younger girls and schools and children. And I believe that we can speak more. We have to understand what is the problem. So it's a natural thing for everybody and for women. So we know exactly what we are speaking about. And I believe that children have to learn that energy and also water, as Helen talked a lot about, is not ending resources. We live in the Western world, and I mean in schools and everywhere at home, people sometimes using water and electricity as if it will never end. And I believe easy things to do is just to show, maybe have displays in schools and things. That's one concrete thing I really want to do where I live. Have displays of the energy consumption, the water consumption at this current moment, so that people just get the feeling from when they're growing up that it's going away. So they get it natural. And what can we Zonta do? I believe that we are good thinking people, and we know how it is to work together. And I believe that we can be a part of the society that show what is a good way of living. We have to change our lifestyles. It's not only about cutting down the emissions, it's also changing the lifestyles now. That's the thing. So when I'm out speaking, I try to just be very basic and clear and speak about what is the different about weather and climate. Because sometimes we even have a cold winter in Sweden, or a cold spell for one month or several weeks, and people suddenly say, we don't have climate change, look at this. And it's so important for people to know that climate change is the trends, is the larger trends on long terms, 30 years or longer. And the current weather is just the waves on the longer trend. And it's all about the sun and the incoming radiation from the sun, the outgoing infrared. So it's about the balance exactly, and the outgoing. This is some Swedish. The outgoing radiation is not going out, so the balance has been disturbed, and that's also important. And it's important to say that it's good for us to have the greenhouse effect, but it's the change of the greenhouse effect that is the problem, that we have changed it. Human has changed it. And this is just clear how it is from 35 Swedish weather stations measuring of temperature. From when we started to measure temperatures, it really has decreased about up to 2.5 degrees centigrade in Sweden. And also globally, we see since we started to measure, we can see the rising temperatures from about 1980s. It was very, very clear. And we also can do longer terms by backtracking in ice, drilled ice kernels that we can measure different substances and see that how the climate has been changing. And I think it's important to talk about this. How do we know? It's not just a story. And we can also see by looking at the trees, how they have been growing and the different lines show if it's very dense, it's a cold year, and if it's a larger distance between these lines, it has been a warm year. So you can really get good information from ice kernels and other stuff. And I also speak a lot about the greenhouse effect. And one important thing that Helen also spoke about is that the carbon dioxide, it's already there. We can't change it now, because the carbon dioxide we put out, it stays in the atmosphere for more than 100 years, maybe several hundred years. And then we have other greenhouse gases that we can cut down faster, like methane, for example, and that stays only like 10-15 years in the atmosphere. So it's very different. So we really know, need to know what we speak about. So I try to speak what these things is about when we speak about the greenhouse gases and what's going on in the atmosphere. So yeah, I just would like to, as I said in the beginning, cooperate with you, and sometimes maybe all over the world. I admire the job you do. Well, also I speak about when I'm out talking to people about how do we know that it will be even warmer, and it is a lot of math, and it is the best science we have in the world, and it's not just something, it's really going on, and we can calculate different scenarios, as you know, depending on how the humans will go on living. And if we will change our lifestyles, we might be able to change the development. And this is maybe the same as Helen showed. And we are really going up to not 1.5 degrees. We are more into 2.5 or even warmer as we live in this moment now. And in Sweden, we can see it very clear, and we will get less of the snow, and we will also have these social effects when southern part of Europe is getting warmer. And this is a picture of tropical nights that will grow, as you can see, when the years goes on. And we will, in Europe, it will be difficult to grow food in the southern part of Europe. So it will easily be that people will start moving further south. So we will get this movement of people as well. This is the vegetation period in Europe. That's maybe something positive for our part, that we can grow more food in the Nordic. But it will be larger problem around the Mediterranean and in southern Europe, because they will suffer more drought, and it will be much more difficult. So yeah, and what about the snow? I can see it clearly. Yeah, I mean, this time of the year here in the Alps, it is too warm. It's too little snow, and the glaciers are decreasing quite quickly, and it's really sad. But I believe after my sailing around the world, people really want to do their best. They want to know what can we do. So I have a good hope in this, and I have a good hope that we can maybe copy the photosynthesis. This is in Swedish, but you know, you understand, and that's just the marvelous nature thing, how to use the carbon dioxide. And together I believe we can do things. And if we can find out good ideas on more concrete work we can do within the Zonta I will be very, very happy. So if we also put the nature first, and that we change our mind that we are within the nature, we are not here to use the nature, we are one part of it, then I think we'll find the right way forward, and there is hope with these clever women that are gathered here, for instance, and what we can do in the future. I think there is a good hope. So thank you so much for my speech.
Thank you, Pia. It's that was very fascinating, because we're talking about all the Southern Hemisphere events, and you're the Northern Hemisphere. So it's really great to have that contrast of the two hemispheres, to realize that this is a complete global event that will impacts everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pia. Did anyone have a quick question? Because I want to move on to Janet. Vicky, you got your hand up? Take your
seat. I don't want to hold you up. It just appears I'm already conscious of the reindeer in the Arctic that are already starving because they can't break through ice. They can dig through snow, but the snow is turning to ice and it hardens and they can't crack through to feed. So it's already impacting, and I know the reindeer are a significant animal as a resource to the different groups up in the Arctic.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We actually had a Zonta that have a Zonta that's working with that, and she had a speech for our club, and it's really a problem for the people, the nature people that you're similar to your rural people. Yeah, it's a big problem for them to get the food nowadays, because the snow is melting and freezing, melting and freezing, and it's a big problem. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Pia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pia. A round of applause. That was really lovely, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Keeping up the relationship, that would be really lovely.